Okay, so Minari is the most quintessentially American film of the year. Based on writer-director Lee Isaac Chung's rural Arkansas upbringing, Minari follows the Yi family, recent immigrants from South Korea, as they attempt to make a new life farming. And despite that very familiar and seemingly corny premise, Minari carves out its own space in this archetype. Minari exudes pure charm, primarily through the grandmother-grandson relationship at its center, and the film has warmed the cold, dead hearts of critics enough to warrant serious awards consideration. Let's discuss the 7 categories Minari has been succeeding in and where it can win it all at the end of this season. Yeun has been circling the Oscars for many years now. He's become one of those actors like Daniel Radcliffe who gets the big bucks off of a wildly successful franchise and then goes off and says, "Well, I'm set for life, so now I'm only gonna do work that I think is really neat." He got a lot of buzz for his performance in Lee Chang-dong's Burning in 2018 and has appeared in somewhat awardsy films like Okja and Sorry to Bother You. It seemed like any day now he'd break through and get his inevitable Oscar nomination, and this really is his best bet yet. Playing the patriarch of the Yi family, Yeun based his performance on his own father and puts in a lot of physical and emotional labor. He takes a classic character type, the stern, sometimes overly strict father who deep down just wants to provide for his family, and injects his own charisma and warmth. He's the kind of dad who will threaten to smack his child with a stick, but you can tell it's not really in his heart. The film is restrained enough not to give him a cliché Oscar reel moment where he breaks down and melts his facade away, but I think that helps his performance by allowing it to remain impressive through its subtlety. Yeun has been on the edge of a nomination for nearly the whole race thus far. Never quite a lock, never quite a long shot. Then the Screen Actors Guild nominated him, and so did Critics' Choice, so the only major precursor he's missing right now is the Golden Globes. But they've got their own problems right now, so let's ignore them. I'm going to say that Yeun is getting nominated, which will be nice because somehow there's never been a single Asian Best Actor nominee, so let's just make that stat go away. As for the win, no one's beating Chadwick Boseman. Sorry, Steven. That said, the real tragedy of this category is that 8-year-old Alan Kim is low-key the true lead of Minari. Kids always get submitted for supporting even if they're actually leads, and he hasn't really made any traction in the supporting category. But he's so real and he's so convincing in this film, and I mean, come on. They asked him who his favorite actor is, and he said Sonic the Hedgehog. I know it's not gonna happen, but please give this kid a Best Actor nomination. Yuh-Jung plays the family's grandma and might have the best performance of the film. She's crude, she's silly, she's thrilled by professional wrestling, and she grabs your heartstrings and just yanks them. Her relationship with Alan Kim's character is so well done, and legally you're not allowed to not love her. Like Steven Yeun, Yuh-Jung's nomination odds have been iffy for most of the season, but then she started nearly sweeping Critics' Awards, and she also got SAG and Critics' Choice nominations. Look at her not only for an Oscar nomination, but for a serious threat to win Supporting Actress. My only fear is that she'll lose to Glenn Close, who plays a far inferior version of the same kind of grandma. Kinda like how a few years ago, Allison Janney beat Laurie Metcalf for playing a cartoonish version of the same character. Or maybe they'll ignore both of them and give it to Amanda Seyfried, I don't know. Recently, Minari has been surging in Oscar odds, and it's impossible to award the film without acknowledging the auteur behind it. Lee Isaac Chung based so much of this film on his own life that I can't imagine he's not the center of Minari's campaign. And whenever you have a film like this, where every actor seems to be firing on all cylinders, you have to credit the director. Look for him among the nominees with a decent level of confidence. Chung's screenplay benefits from a lot of the same buzz as his direction, but the difference is that there's only one category for directors and 2 for screenplays. It might not be able to beat Promising Young Woman, Mank, or The Trial of the Chicago 7, but it'll be nominated. Okay, I know this isn't the most likely place for Minari to show up, but this category is kind of a crapshoot right now. Besides Nomadland and Mank, I don't think anyone can be too confident about the nominees. Also, Minari reminded me a lot of the Harrison Ford Amish film Witness, what with how it makes low-tech farming look cool, and Witness got a cinematography nod, so why not this? Emile Mosseri's score is not what you would expect for this type of film. You might think it would have big, sweeping strings or something with country/bluegrass vibes, but his score had this subtle, synthy 80s thing going on that matched more than just the period. It's not quite as showy as scores like Soul or Tenet, but I'm hoping the music branch will reward it for its uniqueness. A few months ago, when no one had any clue where this race was going, Minari looked like an edge candidate for Best Picture, at best. Suddenly, with its increasing momentum, Minari has clawed its way all the way up to a real contender for the Best Picture win. Even though the race currently seems to be between the fading Nomadland and the steadfast Trial of the Chicago 7, we can't count out the surging Minari. You have to consider that there are tons of elderly Academy members who just love to award wholesome films about family, Christianity, and the American dream. Unfortunately, those same members are also the people who spent decades ignoring Asian American filmmakers and anything with subtitles, so take that with a grain of salt. But they also saw the Golden Globes get reamed for stuffing Minari into their foreign film category and not nominating it anywhere else. And if the Oscars fear anything, it's looking like the Golden Globes. So the older members will actually have to give Minari a chance. And young voters are going to love the narratives behind Steven Yeun and Lee Isaac Chung. So you've got a wide base there. In many ways, Minari is the softer, more accessible version of Nomadland. Where Nomadland displays the cold, bleak, capitalistic side of the American dream, Minari presents a charming, triumphant, hopeful look at making it in the United States. Nomadland has also spent an eternity as the de facto frontrunner, long enough for the hype to die down and the inevitable, albeit undeserved, backlash to brew. See my review of Nomadland for more on that. But Minari is surging now, which is exactly the right time to be seen as a buzzy underdog. You also gotta know that the Academy sees Best Picture as a representation of not only that year in film, but the year as a whole. Voters are viewing this season through a 2020 lens, and I'm not talking about those novelty New Year's glasses. Do they want to react to such a terrible year with a film about a desolate woman living in a van? Maybe. Maybe they'll go for a film about a rigged judicial system during the civil rights era. It could happen. Or maybe they'll want to wrap themselves in a cozy blanket and watch the Yee family chug Mountain Dew and have silly interactions with small-town church folk. Sometimes after a terrible year, you just want to watch something nice. I'm not saying Minari is definitely going to win it all, but if it does, just remember you heard it from me first. Minari is wonderful.